Hey, welcome back to the Natural English Podcast. I am Alex, and I'm here with Sarah. Before we start, just a quick question for you. Have you already looked at your phone this morning? Maybe you checked your messages or your notifications, or you opened one little app without even thinking.
Yeah, honestly, I did that today. I woke up, reached for my phone, and there it was. The lock screen, full of notifications, messages, social media, and some random news alerts.
Same here, and today we are going to talk about that. Our real screen time habits, how much we use our phones, what we do on them, and how you can talk about your own digital life in natural English.
And do not worry, we are going to keep the English clear and calm, and we will repeat the useful phrases. You can just listen and notice how we talk about our screens and our apps.
I also want to give you a small listening challenge. In this episode, you will hear one special word. The word is doomscrolling. Doomscrolling. Try to listen for it. And at the end of the next chapter, see if you can guess what it means just from the context. No dictionary, just your ears and your brain.
I like that. And by the way, my phone told me something a bit embarrassing today. Yesterday, my screen time was about 5 hours, and a lot of that was just watching short videos in bed, way too late at night.
Oh yeah, I know that feeling. For me, it is usually sports news or just scrolling through social media. First thing in the morning, I tell myself, I will only check one thing, and suddenly I am still there. 15 minutes later.
Right. And maybe you do things like that too. Maybe you check notifications all the time, or watch YouTube on the sofa, or read the news on your phone instead of on a computer. All of that is part of your digital life.
So, here is our promise for this episode. By the end, you will be able to talk about your screen time habits in more detail. You will be able to give your opinions and explain how you try to control your phone use in clear, natural English.
And it is totally normal to have mixed feelings about it. Maybe you like your phone, but you also feel it is too much sometimes. That is okay. We are not here to judge you. We are just here to help you find the words to talk about it.
To talk about our digital habits, we need some good vocabulary first. So in the next part, we will start with useful phrases to describe how much time you spend on screens. And remember, keep listening for that word, doomscrolling. We will come back to it after you hear it in context. So Sarah, if you had to describe your screen time in just one natural sentence, how would you say it?
I would probably say something like, I spend way too much time on my phone, especially in the evening.
Yeah, that sounds very real. So, for our listeners, let us slow down and look at a few key phrases you just used and some other useful ones.
Okay, the first one is, spend time on my phone. Very simple, but very common. It just means use my phone for some minutes or hours. For example, I spend a couple of hours on my phone every night.
Right, so not, I frequently utilize my smartphone for an excessive duration.
Exactly. That sounds super formal, super robot. More natural is, I am on my phone a lot, or I spend way too much time on my phone.
Can we do a tiny repeat practice just for that? Listeners, you can copy me silently if you want. I spend too much time on my phone. I spend too much time on my phone.
Nice. And you can change it a bit. For example, I spend a lot of time on my phone at work, or I spend most of my free time on my phone.
Okay, what is the next useful phrase?
The next one is check notifications. This just means Look at the little messages on your phone, like messages, likes, emails, app alerts. For example, I check my notifications as soon as I wake up.
So I could say, I frequently check my notifications for an excessive duration.
You could, but again, it sounds a bit strange. More natural is, I keep checking my notifications, or I am always checking my notifications.
Let me try one. I am always checking my notifications during meetings.
Yes, that is perfect. And listeners, you can try too. Think of a time, morning, work, night, and say to yourself, I keep checking my notifications when I...
Nice. Okay. What about something a little stronger? Like when we watch a lot of episodes.
Good point. A great phrase is binge watch a series. Binge watch means watch many episodes, one after another, usually too many, in one sitting. So not just one episode, but 3, 4, 5.
So if I only watch one episode, that is just watch a series. But if I watch 6 episodes in a row, that is binge watch a series.
Exactly. For example, I binge watched an entire season last weekend, and I went to bed at 3 in the morning.
Let me try a bad version first. I excessively consumed a visual entertainment product last night.
I mean, I understand you, but no one talks like that. A natural version is, I binge watched a show last night, or I stayed up late binge watching a series.
Okay, listeners, repeat with me if you like. I binge watched a series last night. I binge watched a series last night.
And you can play with it. For example, I sometimes binge watch a series when I am stressed, or we binge watch that new show over the weekend.
Now, there is one more word I want to ask you about. It sounds a bit dark, doomscrolling.
Yeah, doomscrolling is a big one. Doomscrolling means scrolling through lots of negative news or posts, usually for a long time, even when it makes you feel worse.
So it is not just scrolling. It is scrolling and feeling more and more bad.
Exactly. For example, I started doom scrolling through sad news at midnight, and then I could not sleep. So the action is scrolling, but the feeling is anxious, sad, stressed.
Let me try. I doom scrolled all the way through my lunch break, and then I felt terrible.
Yes, that is a really good example. Short, natural, and we can feel the emotion.
So in this part, we had a few really useful phrases. Spend time on my phone, check notifications, binge watch a series, and that strong one, doom scrolling.
Yeah, and now that we have this vocabulary, we can start to use it in real-life stories.
Exactly. Now we have the vocabulary. But how do these habits really look in daily life? In the next part, we will share our real daily routines with screens, including some embarrassing or funny moments.
I definitely have a couple of very awkward screen time stories to share. So let us go there next.
So, in this part, I really want to hear what a normal weekday looks like for you, Sarah. Especially with screens, phones, laptop, streaming, all of that. Can you kind of walk us through your day, step by step?
Yeah, sure. So let me think about a typical workday. Usually I wake up, and honestly, the first thing I do is grab my phone. I'm still in bed, and I just check my notifications, messages, maybe email, and I quickly scroll through Instagram. So here I can say, for example, I usually check my phone in bed before I even get up.
Yeah, I do that too. So what happens next, after you finally get out of bed?
After that, I make coffee, and I try not to look at my phone. But when I leave the house and go to work, I almost always listen to something on my phone. usually a podcast or some music. So I could say, on my way to work, I listen to a podcast on my phone. And sometimes I also quickly check the news on a news app while I am walking, which is not the safest habit.
Right, walking and reading at the same time. I know that one. And then at work. Are you on a screen all day?
Pretty much, yeah. I spend most of the day in front of my laptop. I have online meetings. I answer emails. I work in documents. So I am basically glued to my laptop. This phrase is nice, by the way. To be glued to your screen, or to be glued to your laptop. It means you are looking at it the whole time and you cannot stop. For example, I was glued to my screen all morning because I had 3 back-to-back meetings.
Yeah, glued to my screen. That sounds exactly like my day as well. What about lunch? Do you get a break from screens then, or not really?
So, this is one of my bad habits. During lunch, I tell myself, okay, I am just going to check social media for 5 minutes. But often I start doomscrolling. This is a useful word. Doomscrolling means you keep scrolling through negative or depressing news or social media posts for a long time, even though it makes you feel bad. So for example, I can say, I completely lost track of time because I was doomscrolling during my lunch break.
Yeah, that lost track of time feeling. I really know that. Do you have any kind of fail stories with that? Times when it went really wrong?
Oh yeah, I definitely do. One of my classic fail stories is actually on the way home, not at lunch. So sometimes after work, I am really tired. I sit on the bus, I put in my earphones, and I start scrolling through Instagram or the news. And one time I was so focused on my phone, I completely missed my bus stop. I looked up and I was like, wait, where am I? So I could say, I was so busy scrolling through social media that I missed my stop. Or, I was so distracted by my phone that I went 3 stops too far.
Oh no, 3 stops. That is painful. Okay, and then when you finally get home, does your screen time stop or does it continue?
It definitely continues. So normally I cook dinner, maybe with some music from my phone in the background. That feels okay to me. After dinner, I often relax with a series. I tell myself, I am just going to watch 1 episode to unwind, but many times I end up binge watching. So to binge watch means to watch many episodes in a row. For example, we binge watched 4 episodes last night. It is usually for series, not for short clips.
Yeah, binge watching is dangerous. Do you have a story there as well?
Oh yes. So one night I started a new series after dinner. And it was so good. The end of every episode was a cliffhanger. So I thought, okay, just 1 more, and then 1 more. In the end, I stayed up until, I think 2 in the morning, and I had to wake up at 6. So the next day at work, I was completely exhausted. I could say, to be honest, I stayed up way too late binge watching, and I could not focus at all in my morning meetings.
Yeah, I have definitely done that. That just 1 more episode trap. So, if you look at your whole day, do you feel like everything is negative, or are there also some neutral or even good screen habits in there?
Good question. So, on one hand, some things are pretty healthy, I think. For example, listening to a podcast on my way to work helps me learn something, and it makes my commute feel shorter. Also, quickly checking my email in the morning can help me feel prepared for the day. On the other hand, some habits are clearly more problematic. For example, doom scrolling during lunch instead of actually relaxing, or checking my phone again and again during meetings. So I might say, To be honest, I check my phone way too often during meetings, and it makes it hard to focus.
I like how you use those phrases there. On one hand, on the other hand. And also, to be honest, they are really useful when you talk about your habits.
Yeah, exactly. They help you show two sides. So, for example, I can say, on one hand, I like watching videos in the evening to relax. On the other hand, I sometimes binge watch for hours and then I go to bed too late. Or, to be honest, I refresh my email way too often and it makes me a bit stressed.
That sounds very real to me, so I also want to share my routine, but maybe a bit shorter. In the morning, I wake up and I always look the Instagram for a few minutes before I get up. Then during the day, whenever I get one message, I open my phone and suddenly 40 minutes are gone. I just keep tapping and scrolling.
Yeah, I know that feeling of losing 40 minutes. By the way, there is a small thing with your phrase. You said, I always look the Instagram. In natural English, we usually say, I always check Instagram, or I always scroll through Instagram. So for example, in the morning, I usually check Instagram for a few minutes. Or I often scroll through Instagram while I have my coffee. We do not normally say, look the Instagram.
Okay, that makes sense. So check Instagram or scroll through Instagram, not look the Instagram. Got it. And yeah, this thing where I just want to read one message and then suddenly I am deep in comments or random videos. That is one of my fail stories. I open my phone to do one quick thing and then I realize I have been on it for almost an hour.
Yeah, and that is a really common pattern, right? You have a clear purpose, but then you get distracted and you just keep going. You could say, I went on my phone to answer one message, but I ended up scrolling for 40 minutes. Or, I completely lost track of time on my phone and I forgot what I wanted to do in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. So when we look at your day and my day, it sounds like there's a mix, some positive or at least neutral habits, like listening to podcasts, using maps, answering important messages, and then some less healthy ones. Things like doomscrolling, binge watching, or constantly checking the phone.
Yes, and I think that is true for a lot of people. In reality, almost nobody has perfect digital habits. It is more like some things are okay and some things get a bit out of control. The nice thing is, in English, you can talk about both sides. You can say what you actually do and also how you feel about it.
Yeah, that is really the point here. Everyone has some good and some bad screen habits, and it is okay to talk honestly about them in English. We have talked a lot about what we do, our real routines, and our little fail stories. But we did not really go deep into how we feel about this, or whether we want to change anything. So, Sarah, if you think about your screen time, do you feel like it is a problem, or are you kind of okay with it?
I would say I have mixed feelings. Some parts are fine, but there are moments when I really wish I could cut down, especially in the evening or during meetings. So, yeah, I do want to improve it at least a little bit.
So, Sarah, overall, do you think you spend too much time on screens?
That is a hard question. I would say I am in two minds about it.
In two minds, can you explain that a bit?
Yeah, when I say I am in two minds, I mean I am not sure. I can see both sides. So, on the one hand, I love my screen time. It helps me stay in touch with friends and family who live far away. I can send messages, share photos, have video calls, and also, I learn a lot. I watch videos about languages. I read articles about psychology, things like that.
Right. So there are some real benefits for you.
Exactly. But on the other hand, sometimes I feel really bad about it. I feel guilty when I scroll instead of sleeping, or when I ignore the person in front of me because I am checking my phone. I hate that feeling.
Yeah, that guilty feeling is so familiar. Do you notice any difference between different kinds of screen time?
Totally. For example, if I read an ebook on my tablet, I feel okay. It is like reading a normal book, but if I start, doom scrolling, just reading negative news again and again, I feel really stressed afterward.
Doom scrolling, that is a powerful word.
Yeah, doom scrolling basically means you keep scrolling through bad news or sad posts, even though it makes you feel worse. For example, at night, I sometimes think, I will just check the news for 2 minutes, and 30 minutes later, I am still scrolling stories about disasters, and I feel anxious. That is doom scrolling.
I know that feeling too well. So, if you look at the big picture, do you think you personally spend too much time on screens?
I would say it depends on how I use it. If most of my screen time is for learning or talking to people I care about, then I feel okay. But if most of it is social media and I just compare myself to other people, then yeah, that feels like too much.
Makes sense. So, now let me try to answer the same question in English. In my opinion, I have an addiction to my smartphone, and I must reduce my utilization of it.
Okay, I understand you perfectly, but that sounds very formal, very textbook. I am smiling because people do not really talk like that in daily life.
Yeah, I felt that. How could I say it in a more natural way?
You could say something like, honestly, I am kind of addicted to my phone. I really want to cut down.
Honestly, I am kind of addicted to my phone. I really want to cut down. Yeah, that does sound more natural.
Exactly. So, honestly is a nice word when you want to show, this is my real feeling, and kind of makes it a bit softer. You are not saying, I have a serious medical addiction. You are saying it is a bit too much, and you feel it.
So instead of, in my opinion, I have an addiction, I can say, honestly, I am kind of addicted. Same idea, but it sounds more like real conversation.
Yes, and there are a few more little changes you can make like that. For example, a lot of learners say, from my point of view, it is not wrong, but it is a bit heavy for everyday talk. Most of the time, people just say, personally, I think, and then their idea.
Right, so instead of, from my point of view, screen time is very dangerous. I could say, personally, I think my screen time is getting a bit unhealthy.
Yes, that sounds much more natural. Another example, many learners say, I agree with this opinion. Again, it is not wrong, but in conversation we usually say things like, I totally agree, or I kind of agree, if we agree, but not 100%.
So, if you say, I feel guilty when I scroll at night, I could answer, yeah, I totally agree, or I kind of agree. I sometimes do that too.
Exactly. Those little phrases, honestly, personally, I think, I totally agree. I kind of agree. They make your opinion sound more relaxed, more real.
Okay. Now, we want to bring you in. The listener. Let us make this personal for you. So, if you can maybe say your ideas out loud. If you are on a bus or a train, you can also just think them in your head.
We will give you some slow sentence starters. You can repeat after us and then add your own words.
First question, what is one good thing about your screen time? Here is a sentence you can use. One thing I like about my screen time is...
So, you can say it with me. One thing I like about my screen time is... and then finish it. For example, I could say, one thing I like about my screen time is I can practice English with podcasts.
Nice. Okay, your turn. I will say the beginning, then I will leave a short pause. You add your idea. Ready?
Here we go.
One thing I like about my screen time is...
Me?
Okay. Second question. What is one bad thing about your screen time?
You can use this sentence starter. One thing I do not like about my screen time is...
Let us give you an example first.
Sure, I might say, one thing I do not like about my screen time is I doom scroll the news before bed, and then I cannot relax.
Or I could say, one thing I do not like about my screen time is I check my phone during meals, and I'm not really present.
Okay, now it is your turn. We will say the first part very slowly, then you finish it with your own idea.
Ready? Here we go. One thing I do not like about my screen time is... If you want, you can pause this episode and say more details in English, or even write your answers in a notebook. Just keep it simple and honest.
Yeah, and remember, it is okay to have mixed feelings. You can think, my phone helps me learn, and also, it makes me tired. Both can be true at the same time.
So we have talked about the good and bad sides. Now let us talk about what we can actually do to manage our screen time better, and how to explain those strategies in English.
Yeah, I have tried things like digital detoxes, app limits, and changing small habits. In the next part, we will share those ideas with you and give you the language to describe how you control your digital life.
So now, Sarah, I want to talk about something really practical. What we actually do when our screen time feels too high.
Yeah, the real life part, not just talking about it, but how to manage our digital life a bit better.
Right, so we are going to give you some useful phrases, and then we will help you practice step by step.
Okay, let me share a few common things people do. You can listen and maybe choose one or two that feel good for you.
Nice. So what is one thing you do when you think, wow, my screen time is out of control today?
One really simple thing is, I set screen time limits. That just means I tell my phone, hey, after 1 hour on this app, lock it. For example, I set a 30-minute limit for short video apps during the week.
Yeah. Screen time limits are really useful because the phone kind of becomes your coach or your parent.
Exactly. Another big one is I turn off notifications. So when I am working or relaxing, I switch off the alerts for social media and news. My phone is more quiet. My brain is more calm.
And that goes with putting your phone on silent, right?
Yes. I often say I put my phone on silent. So no sounds, no vibration, just quiet. For example, in the evening when I watch a movie, I put my phone on silent so I am not checking every 5 minutes.
I like that one. And sometimes you go even further, right? You do not just silence it, you move it.
Yeah, when I really need a break, I leave my phone in another room. So if I am eating dinner, I put it in the bedroom. Or if I am trying to sleep, I leave it in the living room. It is so simple, but it helps a lot.
Leaving it in another room is powerful because then you have to actually get up and walk to it.
Exactly. That little bit of effort makes you think, do I really need it right now?
Okay, what about apps that feel dangerous for your time?
Sometimes I just delete an app. If I am wasting too much time on a game or social media, I say, okay, bye, and delete the app. Maybe I install it again later, but even a few weeks without it feels really good.
Yeah, delete an app. It sounds strong, but it can be temporary, like a little break.
And speaking of breaks, I sometimes do a digital detox weekend. Detox just means a short time with less digital stuff, like a cleanup for your mind. For example, on a digital detox weekend, I do not use social media, I only answer important messages, and I try to spend more time outside.
Digital detox weekend. I like that phrase. It sounds kind of gentle, but serious.
Yeah, it is not forever. It is just, okay, this weekend I give my brain a little rest.
What do you do inside the apps when they feel too noisy?
Then, I unfollow accounts. That means I stop seeing posts from people or pages that make me stressed or make me compare myself. For example, I unfollow accounts that always talk about bad news at night so I can sleep better.
Unfollow accounts is a really good one. You change your feed and your mood changes too.
And finally, one more thing I like is I create no phone zones. A no phone zone is a place where I do not use my phone. For example, my bedroom is a no phone zone at night, or the dinner table is a no phone zone when I eat with friends.
No phone zones. That is a really easy idea to copy. Just choose a place and say, okay, here, no phone.
Exactly. You can even put a little note like, no phones here, just to remind yourself.
All right, so now let us help you practice saying your own ideas. We will give you a simple sentence pattern.
Yeah, we want you to talk with us, not just listen.
Here is the pattern. When I feel, I try to. Instead, I will give you an example from my life. When I feel stressed from social media, I try to go for a walk instead.
Nice and simple. One feeling, one action.
Another one for me. When I notice I am doom scrolling, I put my phone in another room. Doom scrolling means just scrolling bad news again and again. So I move the phone away.
And this pattern is great because you can change just two parts, the problem and the solution. So it is easy to use again and again.
Okay, listener, your turn now. We will go slowly. First, think of a problem. For example, staying up too late on your phone or checking your phone every 2 minutes. Just choose one in your mind. Ace.
Take a second, picture that moment. Maybe you are in bed, in the dark, still looking at the screen.
Now think of one solution. Maybe set a screen time limit, or leave your phone in another room, or read a paper book instead. Just choose one small thing you could try.
Okay, got it in your head? Problem and solution.
Now say this with me. I will say it, then I will leave a long pause so you can repeat. Ready? When I feel I'm staying up too late on my phone, I try to leave my phone in another room instead.
And now, make your own version. Use your problem and your solution. Alex will say the first part, then you can finish it.
Here we go. When I feel...
Now add your problem. For example, when I feel tired but I keep scrolling.
I try to...
Now say your solution. Maybe I try to put my phone on silent, or I try to write a book instead.
And finish with instead.
Great. You can pause this podcast and try more versions if you want.
Let us give you a couple more sentence starters you can use. That way, you are not stuck with just one pattern.
Yeah, one nice phrase is, one thing that helps me is, for example, one thing that helps me is turning off notifications after 10 p.m. Another one is, recently I have started to create no phone zones at home, like my bedroom and the dinner table.
Listener, try those with us. I will say the beginning, then you finish it in your own way. One thing that helps me is...
You could say, for example, turning off notifications, or setting a screen time limit, or unfollowing accounts that make me unhappy.
And now the second one. Recently, I have started to...
You might say, recently, I have started to leave my phone in another room at night. Or, recently, I have started to take a digital detox weekend once a month.
Okay. Now, I want to be honest. Sometimes my strategies do not work at all.
Oh yeah, same here.
For example, one time I deleted a game app from my phone. I was so proud. I said, yes, now I will read more. And then, the next day, I installed it again and played for 2 hours.
I love that. I mean, I do not love that for you, but I feel it. I did something similar. I made a rule. No phone after 9 p.m. I told my friends. I told my family. And I broke my own rule after 2 days. I was in bed at 10:30 still checking messages.
Yeah, so if you feel like, oh no, I failed, you are not alone.
Exactly. Managing your digital life is not about being perfect. It is more like, try something, see what happens, change it a little. Try again.
And these phrases we practiced, when I feel, I try to. One thing that helps me is, recently I have started to. They can help you talk about that process in English and also think about your own habits.
In the next final part, we will do a quick review of the most useful phrases, like a little checklist, and invite you to use them in real conversations about screen time.
So, we are coming to the end of this episode now. We have talked a lot about screen time and digital life and, how our phones fit into our day. We looked at useful words, we listened to real routines and some fail stories, and we practiced giving opinions and talking about change.
Right. And in this last part, we just want to help you quickly review a few key phrases and then give you a small real-life challenge, something you can really try this week.
Okay, so first, a very quick recap. For describing habits, you can say things like, I spend a lot of time on my phone, or I spend too much time on social media. You can also say, I am glued to my screen, when you mean you cannot stop looking at it.
Yeah. And remember the word doomscroll. Doomscrolling means you keep scrolling through negative news or posts, even when it makes you feel bad. For example, last night I was doomscrolling in bed and I could not sleep.
Then, for opinions, you can start with, personally, I think. So, personally, I think my screen time is a bit high. You can also use, on the one hand, and on the other hand, to show both sides. For example, on the one hand, my phone helps me stay in touch. On the other hand, I feel guilty when I waste time on it.
And for managing habits, we had a few nice phrases. You can say, I want to cut down on my screen time. That means I want to use my screens less. You can say, I am trying to set limits, maybe 1 hour of social media a day. And you can say, I need a digital detox when you want a break from all screens for a short time.
All right, now it is your turn to think for a moment. If you can, answer these questions out loud in English. First question, how many hours did you spend on your phone yesterday? Just guess or think of the number from your screen time report.
And second, are you happy with that number or not really? You could say, personally, I think it is okay for me. Or, on the one hand, it is useful, but on the other hand, I feel guilty when I see that number.
Third question, what is one small change Just one that you want to try this week? Maybe. I want to cut down on my screen time after 10 p.m. Or I am going to set limits on social media. Or I want to take a short digital detox on Sunday morning.
If you can, try to say your answer out loud now. Something like, I am kind of addicted to my phone, but I am trying to set limits. Or, I spend a lot of time on my phone, so I want to cut down on my screen time this week. And if you have a friend, a teacher, or a language partner, you can tell them your plan in English too.
You can also record yourself. Just 1 minute talking about your screen habits. Use some of the phrases from this episode. Talk about how much you use your phone, how you feel about it, and what you want to change. Then maybe listen again later and notice your English.
Or, if you prefer writing, you could write 3 or 4 sentences in a journal. For example, personally, I think my screen time is too high. I feel guilty when I doom scroll at night. I want to cut down on my screen time and set limits this month. Simple, clear sentences are totally fine.
And remember, digital life is complicated. Phones are helpful, they are fun, and sometimes they are stressful. It is okay to have mixed feelings. The important thing is, now you have the English to talk about it. You can describe your habits, say how you feel, and explain what you want to change.
Yeah, and be kind to yourself. You do not need a perfect digital life. Just notice your screen time over the next few days. Maybe choose one small change and try it. And if you want more practice with the phrases, you can always listen to this episode again, maybe slower, maybe with pauses to repeat.
So, we will finish here. Thank you for spending this time with us and with your English on the Natural English Podcast. Today our theme was Screen Time Habits and Digital Life. And you did great work just by listening and thinking about your own routine.
Thank you for listening and for learning with us. Take care of yourself and your screen time.
Bye for now, and see you in the next episode.